We fought in the name of the 5 wise ones. They guided us from our birth to the day we fled the lands. We fought in their names against the dragons, the fae, the demons, and the ones from behind the night sky. They all had might, but we had gods. For many generations we were triumphant, but the others could not abide by our victory. They worked together to bring us low. In just 10 moons, all our decades of victories were undone. Our holds and warrens were leveled and salted. I had children and grandchildren when the war began. I saw them all devoured, some fighting in the field, some in their beds. Our enemies had no mercy. The 5 wise ones were silent as I buried my family. 20 of my companions fled in a great ship, and I made 21. We were not great warriors. Those had all died in the days before, on their feet. Heroes to the last drops of blood, the last flames. We were crafters and builders, God speakers, and I was our last storyteller. The God speakers knew of an island, one of their islands used to speak to the 5 wise ones, a refuge. So that's where we sailed. The island had everything we needed, stores of food for many more than had survived, high walls, and a forge. We prayed each day. Our enemies never came to the island, but neither did our gods. The 5 wise ones had abandoned us. Years of silence. Then our God speakers walked into the ocean, and the waves against the rock cleansed them of their shame. We were not blessed, those of us who were left, but we spoke as we had been taught, to call out to wise ones. We did not expect an answer, so we spoke to others. We had heard some of the small folk carried tiny wooden gods in their pockets, so we made tiny wooden gods and spoke to them. They were only wood and could not answer us. We knew the enemies from behind the night sky believed themselves to be gods, so we asked them to help us, those who had killed our kin. But of course they had too many mouths, and their answers did not bring us any peace. We did not know who else to ask, so we imagined gods that might be, or might have been long ago, and asked them to come back to the world, or to come to the world for the first time. Perhaps a new god could have been born, but we were not strong enough to carry them. Many more walked into the waves. There were only 5 of us left when the answer came, and a little 6th, a child born since our exile began. The answer came through the child, who spoke in a voice not his own, carrying words from a god who told us his name, but his name would slip from our lips before we could speak it. He was so grand. The child god showed us how to craft the weapon, made for small folk. 3 prongs like the fishing spears, but these 3 prongs were for our enemies. 1 prong for the beasts that had driven us from the land. 1 prong for our kin who were not strong enough to defend us, and the last prong for the gods who had abandoned us. It was made for the small folk, the child god said, because we would not be able to wield it. It required great magic, and great magic required blood. The child god taught us the words that could pull a life from a body and into the weapon. 5 lives, 3 prongs, 1 weapon, and a future of victory that would come long after our deaths. The child god named the weapon Wave, for the cleansing water that would reshape the world. I must have been dead before the weapon was named, but my life was part of its power, so its future was my future. I would witness our victory, and I could wait a long time. I could be patient. If I am ever lost, I will return home, not to the lands where we lost the war, but to the island where I was reborn, and I will find my purpose. I will win the war, the only war that matters.